have to weigh in on this situation with the so-called Christian militia going after police. First of all, I'm not going to condemn any Christian terrorism until Time magazine condemns Islamic terrorism. You remember when the Fort Hood Muslim decided to, massacre his fellow soldiers and managed to kill 13 of them and wound so many others. The state-run media, especially Time magazine, for instance, came to his defense as best they could and suggested that we seek to understand the causes of his actions. And they, by the headline, suggested that he was terrified. And some of the root causes cited would be the anti-Islamic bigotry and racism of Americans and our society. So I would like to consider some of the motives, some of the things that were terrorizing the so-called Christian militia. And when you have a president who says something like, we're no longer a Judeo-Christian nation, that's terrifying. I could see how that would get people alarmed. And then the same president says to a Muslim audience that if you consider how large Muslim population is in America, and I'm paraphrasing what he said, we could be considered, America be considered one of the largest Muslim nations. And that's pretty alarming too. So until Time magazine seeks to condemn Islamic terrorism, then in order to keep the books balanced, I can't condemn anything that any non-Muslims do in terms of terrorism. I'm not going to, because it's my duty, I think, to keep the books balanced. The rhetorical books. So I would be willing otherwise. Now, the other thing that bothers me about this story is I have a hard time believing that this is actually a Christian militia, because they wouldn't be going after police. That's just not the appropriate thing. I, as the commander-in-chief of the Bucks County Christian militia, I make sure that everything that we do is approved by the sheriffs in the county. So that's the appropriate way for Christian militia to conduct their business. And I would also further go to say if a revolutionary war or civil war was to break out, that most of your law enforcement and Department of Defense personnel would be fighting for the people. I think they would disobey their commanders at this point, not shoot on the American people. And that's how we have to go about militia tactics. You keep the police on your side, and as much of the military as possible should be kept on the side of the private militia. So these are just my thoughts on this topic. I know that of course the media is having a field day with this, and trying to use it to slander Christians and militias and so forth. So I'm not going to listen to anything they have to say until they want to treat this kind of thing fairly. I'm just taking what they've encouraged us to do towards Muslim terrorists and applying it to the Christians. So since they're going to have a double standard, I have to make up for the deficit And that's all I'm doing here. And I think that what I had to say here needs to be seriously considered. And don't be persuaded by the media. I mean, this is what they do, and they've been. I mean, it's an old game. I'm surprised it's so. There's so few people waking up to it. Although more and more people, I think, are waking up to it. So I just want to go on the record and set things straight, so that you'll have some guidance as to how to properly navigate this latest attack by the media.